Here is another way that Mark Carney is basically just Justin Trudeau with less charisma. China loves the guy. Not only does China love him, but they're trying to make sure he wins the liberal leadership. This is according to the Bureau, but has been reported elsewhere. The headline here is Breaking Canada Election Monitor Detects PRC Cyber Attack on Liberal Leadership Candidate Freeland, echoing 2021 campaign against conservative Kenny Chiu. The evolving nature of these operations may signal a broader effort to influence not only Canada's general election, but also to shape the selection of the country's next unelected prime minister. And yes, basically, the intelligence threats to election task force has gone through WeChat, which is a Chinese based social media platform, and it has detected at least 30 accounts going around basically acting as bots to dump out misinformation and disinformation about Chrystia Freeland to help Mark Carney. Because who else are they helping? Are they helping Ruby Dhalla? Are they helping Karina Gould? Frank Bayless? I don't think so. And again, am I sympathetic to Chrystia Freeland? Not really. I think Chrystia Freeland and Mark Carney and these other people are all pretty much corrupt, except Ruby Dhalla. She's just a very strange candidate for this liberal leadership race. But this is obviously trying to help Mark Carney, so I specifically just dislike Mark Carney more. It's obvious that they know that if they put Mark Carney in place, that he is going to hold down the Canadian economy and pump up free trade with countries like China. This is actually the big danger of the recent tariff conflict that didn't end up happening between Canada and the United States. I think the liberal establishment, including Mark Carney most especially, as the financial advisor, would like nothing more than an excuse to start trading with US enemies like China, Iran, and other anti Western nations. Justin Trudeau has been extremely easy on China during his entire tenure of office, and Mark Carney has been there advising Trudeau along the way for much of the time. And on top of that, we also have those videos from before when he was Trudeau's economic advisor of Pierre Poilievre questioning him in committee. This is before Poilievre is even the Conservative Party leader, where Mark Carney admits to supporting pipelines in countries like Brazil and the United Arab Emirates, but says there's no business case. There's no environmental case to have pipelines or new oil and gas ventures in our country, but elsewhere it's okay. Again, this is why I suspect that China likes Mark Carney quite a bit. He is somebody who will only ever basically champion international economic development while basically just kind of throwing his hands up in the air and saying, who really cares whenever there's an actual opportunity for Canadians to get ahead? And I want to quickly talk about the reaction that Mark Carney's campaign has had to this because what they should have said was absolutely nothing. I don't even know why he even acknowledged this was going to what this happened because it just makes him look bad. It's really stupid for him to say anything because everyone knows who this is trying to help. So he should have just ghosted it. But Mark Carney said in response to this, I fully support Chrystia Freeland and her campaign in light of this disturbing report. I am fully committed to defending the integrity of this race and stand firm against any attempts to undermine our democracy. Well, you're committed to defending the integrity of this race. A candidate who was actually threatening to you was already kicked out, Chandra Arya. And if you're going to say, well, Chandra Arya, because I've seen this rumor on social media, Chandra Arya was removed because he was probably involved in foreign interference himself. Well, what's Mark Carney's campaign involved with? We should probably look into this because there's already a lot of hinky stuff going on his campaign with him being briefed by cabinet ministers, giving daily updates to cabinet and having them brief him. Like, that's not how you act if you truly are an outsider. And if anything, that should be illegal. But Mark Carney goes on here to say, my deepest gratitude to the national security and intelligence officials who lead this important work to sustain trust in our democratic process. What are you going to do about it? I know he can say that I'm going to stand up for the integrity of the race. I'm going to defend stuff. How? How are you going to defend stuff? Are you going to pass a foreign agents law? I know we've kind of been doing that in Canada, but are you going to dig deeper on the Hogue report that came out, which was basically just a censored report by the former justice they had dig into this, and it was just kind of like trying to show that there are problems, but blame no one in particular, even though the report was chock full of indications that a liberal MP or a liberal minister was engaging with a Chinese or Iranian front group, and obviously which were being used to curry favor with those elected officials. It always excused it as if it was just a happenstance. This person didn't know. Well, how do you know they didn't know? They won't even name who the MPs are. We kind of know who a lot of the MPs are, but like, my goodness. I want to get over to what Chrystia Freeland's campaign had said here. But again, the funny thing is, again, I don't feel sympathy for Chrystia Freeland as like a politician. I think she's terrible and corrupt too. But she legitimately is the outsider of this race. She is actually the person that Team Trudeau hates because she decided to turn on them at the last moment. And that's really the standard in Team Trudeau. You're either fully 110% with Trudeau. You like will give him a pint of your blood to sustain him every month, or you will be thrown out of the back of the van and probably run over a few times. Because Freeland used to be a close ally of Trudeau. Everyone knows this. Former deputy prime minister, former finance minister, helped feed the helpless body of Bill Morneau under the Liberal bus for the We Charity scandal, which had little to do with Bill Morneau and was in fact a Justin Trudeau scandal. But because at the end, she then gets mad at Trudeau for making her basically blow out the deficit even more than she originally was, and she looks like an idiot, and he's done this to her before. Now she's persona non grata, can't trust her. All the liberal cheerleaders are online are saying, what a snake. I can't believe she would do this to Justin, the man of principle. But Chrystia Freeland in response to the intelligence report that came out, said, I will not be intimidated by Chinese foreign interference. Having spent years confronting authoritarian regimes, I know firsthand the importance of defending our freedoms. Canada's democracy is strong. My thanks to our national security agencies for protecting it. Again, even she's not going to do anything about foreign interference. Nothing's being protected. Things are just being mentioned. Is this stuff still happening on WeChat? Absolutely. Have they done anything to counter the disinformation, misinformation? Give people notices within the party that there are lies going on in WeChat? Probably not. And that's where we're at. Anyways, I want to do an update on what's kind of going on in the Liberal Party leadership at the moment and how I think that this is going to kind of play out. I think we all kind of know there's like a 90% shot that Mark Carney is going to win. But the thing that I'm seeing early on, and I know some people are pointing to specific polls where the Liberals are actually getting really close to the Conservatives. We have to realize is even Kim Campbell, for a brief moment of time, actually did eclipse the Chrétien Liberals in 1993. Parties get this kind of false sense of energy and momentum as they select a new leader. That doesn't even mean their actual support base has grown at all. It's not that it grows and then it's going to retract. What happens is a response bias. People who are now more excited who are voting Liberal, same group of people, maybe it's expanded by a couple points, they are now far more likely to pick up the phone and tell you who they're voting for. So, in fact, the party might have always been at 26, 27%, but there were so many people depressed at the prospect of running another election with Trudeau, who was going to obviously get clobbered, that as soon as it's Mark Carney or Freeland as the potential leadership prospects, even though both of them, in theory, could lose even harder than Trudeau, these same people are picking up the phone and telling people what they actually think. So there was probably a artificial depression in the Liberal voter base that was causing them not to take polls. And now there is an artificial excitement getting them to take polls. Same thing happened again to Kim Campbell in 93. Same thing definitely happened to Kamala Harris after she replaced Biden. All the Democrats started taking the polls again and she rocketed up. And then she kind of like slumped back down very quickly afterwards. So I think once we see Mark Carney in this role, it's going to be like as the leader, he's going to probably fade pretty quickly. Now I just want to talk quickly about Ruby Dhalla because this actually does have to do with the race. There actually is something with Ruby Dhalla that actually has a strong ability to affect how this thing is going to play out. So Ruby Dhalla, a former MP, in the Liberal caucus between 2004 and 2011. She was actually, in fact, rated like one of the worst people to work for in Parliament because she can be a bit of a diva, and you can kind of tell from her campaign, although it's been a fun campaign. She says, I'm in this to win this. Another $125,000 deposit delivered to the Liberal Party this morning. Thank you to the many Canadians who have donated and want to bring the party back to the center, cut taxes, make life affordable, and have a real change for Canadians to win. And she's actually running like a shadow conservative campaign inside the Liberal Party. I commend her. It's interesting. She's even calling herself like the female Canadian Trump. Again, more power to her. And the reason this matters, because you could say this is ridiculous, it's someone who's not going to win. I don't know how many memberships she has. There's only 400,000 active memberships. Maybe there's a good amount of people inside the Liberal Party when they read her emails and they see her posts, say like, I could actually get behind some of this. And then she has all the ironic, like non-liberal signups who are just voting for her because they hate Carney and Freeland. But the reason this does matter is that there might be a debate. And if there's a debate, do you think Mark Carney survives that debate? Watching him is like watching paint dry in slow motion. It's terrible. Freeland could beat him in a debate because Freeland has the ability, although she's awful, although she's twitchy and kind of awkward, she can go for the jugular. Mark Carney, in every piece of media I've seen him in, is just awful. He is professorial in a way that it's not even Ignatieff-like. Ignatieff could be interesting. He kind of has this kind of John Kerry caricature feel. Mark Carney just feels like, man, we have found a generic guy. And so in a debate setting, Freeland and Ruby could actually take a strip out of this guy. And I'm convinced at this point that Karina Gould might have actually flipped on Carney, because there's no chance that if the Liberals are getting back in with Carney. So why end up making yourself a pariah in your Liberal circles by helping him win and then crashing the party, and then everyone just sees you as some sort of kamikaze candidate to take out Freeland? Because early on, it seemed like that was what was going on, because Karina just happened to do her announcement that I'm running and then her official launch right at the same time as Chrystia Freeland, which seemed like the way of taking energy out of the race. But Karina, who also qualified with the other $125,000 deposit that she needed, she is now calling for a debate. And the one thing Carney does not want is a debate, because he's going to be asked about the CCP stuff. He's going to be asked about all of his connections to Trudeau and Team Trudeau, Katie Telford, Gerald Butts. He is going to be asked about all of his work in England and Liz Truss and other people saying he's utterly incompetent. He's a bully. He's just a complete weasel. When he was the Bank of England governor, people can ask him about his Bank of Canada record, which his record's just okay. And it's okay off of the back of Stephen Harper doing all the work. He kept the fiscal and monetary policy steady, and all Mark Carney had to do was follow his orders. So he does not want to debate, because Mark Carney only wins off of a sense of inevitability. Once he has a bad debate, it's like, this guy is going to be the reaction with a lot of liberals. And I'm a conservative. Again, I don't like any of these people. Even Ruby Dhalla is not conservative enough for me to vote for her if she was a Liberal Party leader up against Poilievre. Obviously, I'd be voting for Poilievre. But still, I can see a liberal. I can at least kind of get in the mind of a liberal who desperately wants to feel like they have the energy to beat Poilievre. They don't. I will show you how the polling, it's basically a polling mirage out there for the Liberals right now. But they don't want a guy who is immediately going to give them the sense that, yeah, this guy's not going to be able to fight Poilievre. They want someone who can hit hard. And the problem is nobody in this race can hit hard. Less, like, in the worst is Carney himself. Have you seen any of his campaign videos? It's like comatose. Like, you're waiting for him to fall asleep. So that's where I actually think that it's going to start dogging him, that he won't do a debate this election cycle. He's going to keep saying, oh, I don't have enough time. I'm too busy meeting with Canadians at events with like 5 people at them. Yeah, some of his events probably has like 70 people, but you're running for a Liberal Party leadership. You're running to be prime minister, and you can't fill a room. He has to pick like hallways to fill whenever he is actually trying to make himself look impressive. To this day, Poilievre can fill a room of people, even if he's been to that town or city 10,000 times. He'll show up again and there'll be 700 people in the room minimum. Minimum. You can go to towns with only like 7,000 people, and there will be 400 people in that room. He will have a significant percentage of the town show up. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for me today, guys. So, yeah, China's backing Carney. Why wouldn't they? He is Mr. Central Bank Digital Currency. The one thing that the CCP loves is CBDCs. He's massively involved and very supportive of the WF, the UN, all very anti-Western institutions, proto-socialist institutions. So, yeah, terrible, awful. Hope he loses. But anyways, that's it for me, guys. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and I'll see you guys in my next video.